How is everybody doing? I hope you're enjoying your Friday night. This is NYG Jeffy T 3285, and today I'm just going to be talking about a couple of people in the men's and women's Money in the Bank briefcase matches that I believe belong and should take those last couple of spots that are available right now to have the opportunity to take down the briefcase at next Saturday's pay-per-view. Now, right now, the women have 6 people out of the 7 that have qualified so far for the match. And those people are as follows: Liv Morgan, Lacey Evans, Raquel Rodriguez, Alexa Bliss, Asuka, and Shotzi Blackheart, with one remaining spot for the women. For the men, right now it's Seth Rollins, Sami Zayn, Omos, Drew McIntyre, and Sheamus, with 2 spots remaining right now for the men. So you have to assume that the last people are going to be qualifying on this coming Monday night, because SmackDown, they made the announcement that all the participants for the Money in the Bank briefcase match on the Raw and SmackDown side will be involved in some type of segment before the pay-per-view next Saturday. So unless they have some type of early qualifying match on the early edition of SmackDown, you're assuming that the last participants will be coming from the Raw side. And I'm just going to go over some names who I think, in my opinion, should belong and take those last few spots, starting with the women. There's still some people that I believe deserve an opportunity to show what they can do and haven't really had that chance to show the audience. And especially in a match like Money in the Bank, you want to try to elevate new stars, create new stars, and give people the opportunity to get behind some of these new stars as you go into the latter part of 2022 towards SummerSlam after Money in the Bank. Some of those people I'd like to see in the match are as follows: a Doudrop, who some people question about her. I think she's a terrific wrestler, the formerly known Piper Niven. I think she's got a lot to offer, and I think she would be an intriguing addition to that women's match. Xia Li. They've repackaged her into the warrior gimmick that she was using down in NXT. Xia Li's got some talent. Why not throw her in that match? Let her show what she can do on the Money in the Bank briefcase match. Let the people get a good demographic on what Xia Li can do in a big field match. Maybe an Aaliyah. Sure, Aaliyah's really not done much. She's also been credited for having one of the quickest victories that happened months ago, but she's really been off TV for a while. Aaliyah's another one of those women that you might want to try to push to see what she can do in a big match feel. So maybe throw her in there. And then the obvious people you have to think about. A Becky Lynch, who has had her gimmick pretty much lately, has been frustration, anger. She just can't get the job done. You figure that if she gets involved in this match somehow, in some type of way she can get into that last spot, that Becky Lynch will be the type of person that she will be the easy heavy favorite going to that match to get that final spot. Or you could have a couple of people that might be returning from injury. You have Bayley, who's been gone off TV since the end of 2020, has not been seen in all of 2021 and a decent amount of 2022. It's been a long time since Bayley has been in the ring performing, ever since she tore her ACL. What better way than to leave that open spot for a surprise, and you have Bayley's music hit, and you have Bayley come back out as that last participant for the Money in the Bank briefcase match. Or you could have somebody like Rhea Ripley, who has been out with injury, who got hurt, unfortunately, in that original 5-pack patch that was going to see who was going to qualify for the Money in the Bank briefcase match originally. So, I'm sorry, to see who was going to face Bianca Belair in the women's championship match originally. So you maybe can have Rhea Ripley come in as that surprise entrance and maybe give the Judgment Day a bigger feel. Or, and take this for a grain of salt, maybe there's some things going on behind the scenes that maybe WWE and Naomi, of all people, maybe Naomi and the WWE are hash things out a little bit better behind the scenes, and they're just trying to save some type of surprise return with Naomi coming back in some type of new gimmick with more attitude. She gets that 7th spot. This is hypothetical, obviously. She gets that 7th spot, and she gets into that match. Or maybe you have somebody like Io Shirai, who should be returning from injury very soon too, who you think is going to be debuting on the main roster very soon. Who everybody knows how talented Io Shirai is, and what kind of crazy spot she would be putting in that Money in the Bank match. It would be a perfect opportunity to debut the Genius of the Sky in the Money in the Bank match. My still opinion of who I think is going to get that last spot, I think it's going to be Becky Lynch, because I just feel like that Becky Lynch, I don't see any way WWE does not include Becky Lynch in this match. It just makes too much sense to put one of your biggest female stars in that match. And if she's in there, of course she's going to be one of the heavy favorites going into that match, along with who I feel is Lacey Evans, as well as Raquel Rodriguez, and I think Liv Morgan should be up there as somebody that is a heavy favorite. I don't think Alexa Bliss and Asuka are going to be favorites because they've already won it before. And I think Shotzi Blackheart, while she does deserve a chance at getting that Money in the Bank, I think she's just there because she's going to be taking those insane spots. And we know what kind of risk taker Shotzi Blackheart is when she gets into one of these environments, especially when ladders are included. So I think that right now that last spot is going to be Becky Lynch, who I would want to see in that last spot. One of two people. I would like to see either Xia Li or I'd like to see Io Shirai get that one of those last two spots. It would be Bayley, but I just don't think Bayley's ready yet to come back. So I would have Io Shirai or Xia Li get an opportunity. Now in terms of the men, you have two spots open with a field that has 4 people who I believe should be in the match, and one person who I believe has no business being in that match, and that's Omos. I think Sheamus, Drew McIntyre, Sami Zayn, and Seth Rollins all belong in that match. Because all 4 of these guys, we know what they can do in the ring, and some of these guys are either ready to take that leap to the championship main event status, or ready to have a chance at getting back and some redemption for the main event status. Here are some other names that I hope get introduced. And for me, it comes down to 5 people. 1 from SmackDown, 4 from Raw. Shinsuke Nakamura would be one of them. As they've started to push him a little bit against the Bloodline, obviously with what happened with Boogs at WrestleMania, Shinsuke Nakamura is a big name. He has a little issues with the Bloodline. I think Shinsuke Nakamura is due for a chance at a Money in the Bank briefcase and a world title match. I would throw Shinsuke Nakamura in there. I think he deserves the opportunity to be competing for a world championship. Another guy who I feel deserves to be there is Kevin Owens, who has been doing some of the best work of his career, honestly, with his feud that he put up against Stone Cold Steve Austin, and then the work he's been doing with a nothing feud that's turned into arguably the best thing going on, not only Raw, but in WWE TV, and that's with the Ezekiel, Elias, Alpha Academy, Eldon, whatever the hell you want to call it, Elgon, whatever you want to say now. Kevin Owens is putting on fantastic work, and what better way than to put him in that Money in the Bank briefcase match and let him get an opportunity at trying to pull down that briefcase and becoming world champion again. One of the other guys who I think deserves a shot, AJ Styles. Name recognition alone, because AJ Styles, one of the best wrestlers of this generation. AJ Styles is a big name in the WWE. He's already tasted gold multiple times, one of the biggest stars in that company. And I believe AJ Styles would bring instant, major credibility to that match. So I would definitely love to see somebody like AJ Styles get thrown into the Money in the Bank match. A 4th guy who I'd love to see, and he's overdue after what happened to him years ago, Finn Balor, who is ironically now taking over as the leader of Judgment Day. What better way than to get more notoriety, to make them feel more important, the Judgment Day, than put Finn Balor in the Money in the Bank briefcase match and make him a heavy favorite to win. If you can have a way to have a new heel Finn Balor carrying around that briefcase, it'll instantly make Judgment Day feel like a bigger deal because the leader of that group is holding that briefcase. And if he can somehow become world champion, it makes Judgment Day feel that much more important. And Finn Balor deserves an opportunity to become world champion again after he's only had the chance for one day after unfortunately he got hurt in the original first ever Universal Championship match where he was the first ever Universal Champion. But he got hurt in that match, injured his shoulder, and had to relinquish the title the night after to Seth Rollins. So I think Finn Balor is way overdue, especially with the new group and gimmick he has right now. He's overdue for an opportunity to compete in the Money in the Bank briefcase match and have a chance of becoming Mr. Money in the Bank and also being a world champion. And the last one, in my opinion, makes the most sense out of all these guys, and that's Matt Riddle. You have pretty much been building Matt Riddle this whole time during this whole during this whole RK Bro storyline, where he's become a bigger star now with Randy Orton. Randy Orton has helped make Matt Riddle feel like a much bigger deal. These guys have been feuding against the Bloodline. The storyline writes itself. Matt Riddle is now going through a quote-unquote losing streak, where he's been losing all these big matches, and you're going to try to feel sympathy for him. What better way than get Matt Riddle, who is white hot right now? You don't want to not take advantage of somebody that's white hot and is on the cusp of becoming a main eventer going forward. Give a guy like Matt Riddle the opportunity to go in that match and become Mr. Money in the Bank. And I feel if Matt Riddle somehow gets into that Money in the Bank match before next Saturday, I think he becomes one of, if not the favorite to win that match, because the storyline writes itself. You think you want to have Roman Reigns be champion for this long? Have Matt Riddle eventually win that briefcase, and he's been talking about wanting to get his revenge on Roman Reigns this whole time for Randy Orton. Unless you have some type of plans where you're going to have Randy Orton screw over Matt Riddle, give Matt Riddle the opportunity to hold that Money in the Bank briefcase. Give him the opportunity to build up more steam and eventually become world champ, because this guy deserves it. He's over with the fans. He's gimmick. People like it. He's got great in-ring skills, and I think Matt Riddle is the perfect guy to give that briefcase to and let him have a shot at becoming world champion, especially if he can find a way to cash it in on Roman Reigns and obviously Brock Lesnar, who for years Matt Riddle has wanted to have a match against Brock Lesnar. He's been asking for a match against Brock Lesnar. It's been a very bad kept secret. In terms of who I think right now is the favorite for the men's, I probably have to say Seth Rollins, because I think Seth Rollins right now, you figure he wins the Money in the Bank briefcase match. He cashes in against Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar, a la about what happened 5-6 years ago and what was arguably the greatest cash-in ever, when he cashed in on both Reigns and Lesnar and became the champion that night. You have him do it again. You have Rollins hold that championship. Cody Rhodes, who Rollins took out after he was dealing with the pec injury, returns at the Royal Rumble. Cody Rhodes wins the Royal Rumble, challenges Seth Rollins. You have Rollins and Rhodes Part 4, WrestleMania, second time they meet at WrestleMania in 2 years. Cody Rhodes eventually defeats Seth Rollins, gets that big-time WrestleMania moment, becomes world champion for his dad. The storyline writes itself. Seth Rollins just seems the guy to make the most sense. Who I would like to see win it, if he's inserted in the match, Matt Riddle. Because I think Matt Riddle is overdue for a world championship reign. And I think he deserves to be in the main event picture and have the opportunity to become world champion. Those are just my opinions on who I believe should be involved in the Money in the Bank briefcase matches, with those last 3 spots, 1 for the women, 2 for the men, going into Monday in a couple of days. And obviously with Money in the Bank happening next Saturday. If you guys have different opinions, just list them in the comment section on who you think and who you would like to see added to that Money in the Bank briefcase match for both the men and the women for those last few spots, and who you would think deserves to be Mr. and Mrs. Money in the Bank. Plain and simple. The card is shaping up to be very hit and miss right now. I'll just go over a quick brief Money in the Bank right now. We still have a week to go, so other matches can be added. Both the women's matches, I think the feuds have been terrible right now. I don't like the Raw Women's Championship match at all. I think Carmella is just a bad choice to put in there against Bianca Belair. I don't have any faith in that match unless Bianca Belair makes it a good match. In terms of Natalya versus Ronda Rousey, the feud has been lackluster. The match could be good because Natalya is very good in the ring, and Ronda Rousey, when she actually tries, can be very solid in the ring, so I think they could put on a good match. In terms of the United States Championship match between Austin Theory and Bobby Lashley, I think Lashley is just pretty much being used as a pawn because John Cena is returning on Monday Night Raw this coming Monday, and I think that Lashley is just being put there right now because Cena and Theory are going to start a feud on Monday, and eventually it's going to lead to Austin Theory versus John Cena at SummerSlam this year for the United States Championship. And I think eventually it's going to lead to Austin Theory getting the biggest win of his career, beating John Cena at SummerSlam. I'm very... even though I've seen this match a million times, I can't, I can't not get excited for the Street Profits versus the Usos because both of these tag teams are terrific in the ring. And I mean, the Street Profits, I think, deserve to become unified world tag team champions. I mean, they've had every opportunity. They've had a little bit of a storyline, like they've been involved in all these big matches, but can never beat the Usos, never get over that hump. What better opportunity than have the Street Profits finally get over the hump and beat the Usos at Money in the Bank? Do I think it's going to happen? No. Would I like to see it happen? Yes, but I think the match is still going to be great. And like I mentioned earlier in the video about the Mr. and Ms. Money in the Bank, who I'd like to see in the women's match win, Shotzi or Liv. Who I think is going to win, if she's inserted in the match, Becky Lynch. If Becky's not in the match, I think it's going to be either Lacey Evans or Raquel Rodriguez, with Lacey my favorite. And in terms of the men, who I think is going to win the match, Seth Rollins. Who I would like to see in the match, who I'd like to see win the men's one, if he's inserted in the match, Matt Riddle. But those are just some of the my opinions on who I believe should be added in the men's and women's Money in the Bank briefcase matches for those last 2 spots for the men and 1 for the women. If you like the video, if you enjoy the video, please hit the like button below. Subscribe if you haven't already to NYG Jeffy T 3285 for more breaking news, updates, and any type of chatter surrounding WWE, aka the World Wrestling Entertainment. Turn on the bell for any notifications on when the next video or short drops for the WWE, New York Giants, New York Mets, or Brooklyn Nets, as well as when I'm dropping some food for thought and some other little things that I have planned. And share your comments in the comment section on who you would like to see added to this Money in the Bank briefcase match for the men and the women, and who you are. Let me know if you're looking forward to the match, looking forward to Money in the Bank at all, and who you feel deserves to be Mr. and Ms. Money in the Bank going into next Saturday. Thank you very much. I hope everybody enjoys the rest of your Friday night. Have a great weekend, everybody. Take it easy, and let's see what the WWE has planning going into Monday Night Raw next week, Friday Night SmackDown, and of course, Money in the Bank next Saturday. Have a great night, everybody. Peace.